Welcome, automotive enthusiasts and coffee lovers, to another exciting episode of Coffee with Convery. Today we have a very special guest joining us. With over 17 years of hands-on experience as an automotive service technician, our guest has become a true trailblazer in the world of automotive diagnostics and electrical vehicle technology. Saifullah Sanaye, a leader in the Ottawa automotive community and a seasoned expert in advanced vehicle diagnostics, particularly in the realm of hybrid and electrical vehicles. From owning his own auto repair shop to teaching, consulting, and providing technical support, Saifullah has amassed a unique and diverse skill set that has made him a go-to resource across the automotive industry. Affectionately known as the guy your mechanic calls by his peers, Saifullah's journey is nothing short of remarkable. He's not only a highly skilled Red Seal certified automotive technician, but also an instructor, an entrepreneur who has played a pivotal role in developing electric vehicle maintenance curriculum for multiple colleges. But that's not all. Saifullah's commitment to education doesn't stop there. He currently teaches various automotive classes, organizes skill competitions, and coordinates the complete automotive training program at St. Lawrence College. His dedication extends to cutting-edge research as he collaborates with institutions like St. Lawrence College and the Automotive Industries Association of Canada to develop groundbreaking programs, including career exploration initiatives and comprehensive courses in electric vehicle diagnostics and advanced driver assistance systems. Just recently, Saifullah was honored with the prestigious provincial Premier's Award in the Apprentice category, a testament to his significant contributions to the automotive industry. Join us as we dive deep into Saifullah's journey, his passion for continual education, and the exciting developments in the electrical vehicle technology. Saifullah, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Brennan.
Really excited to have you.
Thanks.
All right, so to get us going, I always like to ask like a few rapid fire questions for the audience to get to know a little bit more about you. What are your pronouns?
His, him.
That's him. Okay, great. And what's your superpower?
My superpower would be diagnostics, I guess. Automotive diagnostics.
Yeah, definitely. From that intro, I definitely got that out of there. Do you have a favorite smell?
Lilacs.
Lilacs. That's great. I love that. Best compliment you've ever received?
People like my beard.
Nice. Love it. All right, guilty pleasures, go-to snacks. What's yours?
Chips.
Chips. What kind of chips? Potato
Doritos.
chips?
Doritos.
Doritos. Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes to holidays, what's your favorite holiday?
It'd be the religious one that Muslims celebrate. It's called Eid.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. We all started somewhere. What was your very first job?
Actually working in a small shop. That's what it
Okay.
was.
So
Yeah.
you started right away in it.
Yeah, because I knew what I wanted to do, and I just said, you know what, this is the direction, and this is what I want to go take it, and basically start up in a small, tiny shop, sweeping floors,
Yeah.
and then the owner just threw me into the deep end.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah,
If you had to describe yourself in one word, what word would you pick?
persistent.
Persistent. All right. Awesome. I think the audience has a good idea now who you are, but let's dive a little deeper into your journey. It's been so diverse and so impressive. Can you kind of take us back to the beginning and share how your passion for automotive technology first ignited?
Yeah, so as a kid, I used to take things apart. I know a lot of mechanics say this. They used to take things apart and then put them back together. But I was the kid that would take things apart and then just once I figured out how it worked, I didn't put it back together. There'd be a trail that my mom would have to pretty much chase behind and look. Oh, the blender's taken apart, right? The toaster's taken apart. The lawnmower, why doesn't it work? Oh, because I just took it apart. So, and she's really angry the whole time chasing me, saying, "Well, listen, you're taking it apart. Why don't you put it back together?" I said, "Mom, you know what? Once I take it apart, I know how it works. Why should I put it back together after that? That's so so it sparked at an early age there. And then what happened is I would start. I was very curious about like electricity, electronics. I used to take tinfoil and connect it to little electric motors that you would take out of like
Yep.
little electric motors that you would take out of VCRs. I would use tinfoil as the wiring, and I would use a battery to turn it on. And I was very fascinated by that. So electric motors and then EV stuff. That's pretty much where it all started from. And I used to have like beside my bed this whole kit of little electronics and all these things where I would do experiments with. And I think I would say it all started at the age of maybe 11,
Wow.
around there. Yeah. So then after that, I basically in school I wasn't doing too good until I finally thought to myself in grade 9, hey, I need to make something of myself. This isn't going to work out this way. So I pretty much went ahead and directed myself to where I wanted to go. I had a vision. I knew what I wanted. I knew that I wanted a very nice life, right? So having a nice life, especially today, right? We need to have what? Money. So I said, let's gonna make the money, right? And a lot of the talks and stuff I would have with mentors would be that, hey, you need to go a direction where others aren't going. And I was like, okay, everybody's going to university, everybody's going to get in debt and all that. Let's go a different route. So then I picked the trades, right? And I said, well, I'm pretty interested in electronics and mechanical, all that kind of stuff, and how things work. So that's when I set my foot down in grade 9. I said, you know what? I'm going to go into automotive. So I put my foot down and I set a goal and said automotive. The teachers really, because of my grades and stuff, they're just like, I don't think you're going to do well. I don't think this is going to happen and that. And I said, no, just wait. So once I found that passion of, hey, I'm going to go this way, then what happened is that everything else fell into place. My math, I geared around automotive. My
Nice.
everything that I was doing in high school, I geared around, hey, what would I need in the field? So that's what kind of made everything work out, and all my grades started creeping up. In grade 9, my grades started going crazy. They started going from I was like a 60 student, I got to like 80s and 90s because I knew my direction. So what I would like to tell young people today is that if you can find what you want in that area, in that grade 9 area, or when you're starting up, make sure you put your foot down and direct yourself, right? Once you direct yourself, everything soon will just fall into place. Everything, because your mindset is going to be set on that goal. Make sure it's secure on that goal and just drive and don't let anything stop you. I remember I used to walk and walk and walk. I don't want to make one of those talks where it's like, oh, uphill, both ways or anything like that in like 3 foot of snow. But I used to walk so far just to go to my co-op placement. We had no car or anything like that. Nobody would pick me up, anything. So what would happen is that I would finish my half day of high school, and then I would go for co-op placement, and I would walk so far, probably about like 5K, 6K, just to get to my placement. And I was wondering at the time, I'm like, is this really all worth it? But as it went through and I went through all the tough parts and working outside, because when you're a rookie, you're working outside and they're giving you all the jobs where they're the tough jobs too, to kind of build you up from there.
Yep.
So I did all that. And there were times where I was like, am I going to make it? Is this right for me? Second guessing. But then after, it's just, you keep pushing and everything will eventually just fall into place. So
Wow.
that's where I started.
Such such super insights and great advice for the listeners. And I love it because you found your passion and connected it to the other pieces of your life that really came together and were maybe troubling areas for you that
Yeah.
ended up coming, like you said, with your grades and all. I think that's such a great lesson for people to think about. Um, owning your own auto repair shop, teaching, consulting, you wore so many hats. What inspired you to take on such variety of roles within this automotive field, and how has this shaped your overall experiences as part of your career?
Well, so I started to do just one thing where working on vehicles and working for someone. And what I found was that I wanted to go ahead and get my skills up there to be a professional. But looking at the paycheck and everything, I was like, you know what? This isn't enough for something that I want to do. And there was something I really wanted to do, and that was help people. So the reason why I went through such a broad, let's say, scope of like wearing different hats and all that is because like I tell my wife, she goes, why don't you just calm down and focus on one thing? I said, if I focus on one thing, I wouldn't have the ability, the money right? To go ahead and help the people that need help, right? So if it would be charity, or if it's to help them out in school, or help them out in mentoring them, anything like that, I would have the money. So that's the main reason why I took on so many roles, because I can employ someone, I can teach someone, and while I'm teaching, I can help out a mechanic when I fly in to help out in diagnostics. I make their day better.
Yep.
So it's all about helping people at the end of the day, because that's the main thing I want to do. Every time I move up on a, let's just say, a ladder, it's about helping people. So once, even with this premier award that I got, the main thing I want to do with it, I'm happy I got it, because what I could do now is, now it's kind of like an inspiration to other people, right? Like, you know
Yep.
what, I can get there too. He's a human, I'm a human, and I could do that as well. And what could happen is that because now there's more exposure of me out there, I can assist other people now, right? I can make them rise with me. Now, or once I get to where I want to be, I go and I take them with me, right? So that's the biggest reason, and the biggest reason why I have why I wear so many different hats is because I can help in so many different sections now. Like I said,
That's great. That's great. And it's part of like your passion and also your gift, right? To give back, and it's really great for you to be doing that. So I could see even you describing it, you get a lot of pleasure out of it. Um, Being known as the guy your mechanic calls, boy, that's quite the accolade. Can you share with the listeners maybe a memorable experience where your unique diagnostic skill set played a crucial role in solving a complex automotive issue?
yeah, for sure. I just want to first put out there that the guy your mechanic calls was from some coworkers, because
Ah,
I was working at a dealership, and they knew that I would go like on weekends and stuff and help out a lot of mechanics, right? And then they said, you know what? You need to make yourself known as the guy your mechanic calls. And then,
it's a
yeah,
great brand. It's a great
they just
brand.
ran with it, right? And then they would put it on my toolbox. They would write it everywhere, like the guy your mechanic calls. Um,
I love
so
that.
so one of the where I use my skill sets would be that I can give you probably hundreds and hundreds of different scenarios, but one that would probably be very simple and kind of, the viewers would understand very easily is we had a vehicle that would speed up, and so you do 60 kilometers an hour, and all of a sudden then it would go to full throttle. So automatically we'd go to full throttle. So you have 60 kilometers an hour, then all of a sudden the thing is going wide open throttle. And this was a big issue because Transport Canada got involved as well. The
Yeah.
vehicle was in like probably 3 or 4 accidents. Long story short, they changed a whole bunch of different components, and still not fixed. So with some out of the box thinking, I realized that there was a system in there that, I started testing, and everything looked normal when we're doing our regular tests. But what happened is that the tires were just a little bit off, the tire size. So I said, you know what, let's go ahead and take those tires off and put the regular tires on. We put the regular tires on, and guess what? The thing is driving perfectly fine.
Huh.
So it was the calculation the computer was doing, just to keep it in a basic sense. The computer was doing a certain calculation where it thought that the vehicle wheels were slipping. And now, what these vehicles today can do is that they can vary the amount of power that goes to the wheels. They could either increase the power or decrease the power. So in this case, it did a calculation and said, you know what, increase that power. So that was like one time where I kind of flew in there, like, we figured it out. It was just that the tires were the wrong size. So that's what we got to always make sure, that our tires in our vehicles are the correct size for the vehicle.
Gotcha. I want to dive a little bit deeper into this vehicle diagnostics because also thinking about our listeners, as I talked to you earlier,
Yeah,
primarily 15 to 35-year-olds trying to figure out what kind of career, maybe a career shift, or even career seekers who maybe want to try something. But
yeah.
the idea of working with your hands, doing the diagnostic, the brain, everything you're using to figure all that out, the troubleshooting, um, what drew you to this specialized area? And you've been doing it, I guess, for over 17 years. And what advice would you have for a young person thinking about maybe exploring this space?
Well, it started by working in a very small shop, and people kept telling me, "Oh, my car, it's not fixed. It's been in the shop 3, 4 times, still not fixed." And I kept seeing that in the shop. So I
Yeah.
said to myself, "Well, what my mentor said, right? Go the way where nobody else is really going. Take that trail. And that's when you're going to find true success. So I kept looking and I kept asking one of my journey persons, right? The journey person that basically is guiding me through my apprenticeship. And I kept picking their brain. I was like, hey, how's this work? How's that work? He's like, why do you keep asking me about these complicated problems? He's like, let me just fix them. So I kept messing with him and everything. So then I got to a point where I said, you know what? I like these puzzles, these little tiny puzzles. I was doing simple puzzles of like, problems and this and that. And I said, and then my journey person said, you know what? If you really want to get ahead, this was another journey person said that you should study diagnostics. It's like, guarantee you study diagnostics and you specialize in that after you know all the other basic stuff. That's where the way technology is going. That's the way the industry is going. So that's what I did. I started specializing. I started reading textbooks and textbooks of people that specialize in diagnostics. And I basically, a lot of it self taught because I like to tell people that Google is amazing. Here's the thing, it has a lot of content, but all you need to do is you need to go ahead at the content and read all the content, absorb the content, and then go to an expert and say, hey, this is the content I have. Can you filter out all the noise? So the expert would be like, yeah, that's wrong, this is wrong, but this makes sense. So that way you absorb the proper stuff and you let go of the stuff that's just, it doesn't make sense or it's not right. So if I was to tell someone today that wanted to get into this specialization, I would tell them that go ahead. If it's actually what you want to do, right? Go ahead. There will be hurdles for sure, lots of hurdles, and you'll have days where they're tough. But you have to understand that the tough days uh, is what makes the good days, right? So once you have all those tough days that you're going through, you get good days. And let me give you an example. You could have a car that's completely just pushing you around like crazy. It's been to like 4 different shops, and now you're on it, and people are expecting it to be done because you are the expert. But we don't have a magic wand, right? So we go ahead and we do some work on it. We test and test, and then finally, first we feel like, oh, it's really overwhelming. But then once we figure it out, all those ones that are super tough for you, that are going to be super tough for you at the start, are going to be the ones that are going to make you money after. And you're probably going to say, why? Because now that you found that one type of problem in that one vehicle, now you can go ahead and say, I've seen this before. And it kind of helps you, right?
That's
I've
right.
been in the trenches with that one. So now I know how to move forward with this one. So, like anything, though, persistence. Be persistent and do a lot of research yourself. uh, Classes are only going to teach you so much, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't take the apprenticeship program. I'm saying take the apprenticeship program. That's a good baseline. But then you need to go ahead and motivate yourself to even go further and further. Take courses, find courses. I've been all over the place for different types of courses. I would drop in on a certain course and then I would just leave because I wanted that one specific thing. I wanted that person to lecture about one thing, and then I would leave, right? And research, do lots of research because whenever we are approaching diagnostics or anything like that on vehicles, we need to be able to, because we're not going to know all the different systems that are out there. We need to teach ourselves, right? How does this system work? How is this system going to behave when it's bad? And then how do we fix this system?
Yeah.
So when I'm doing my technical training side from through my own company, what happens is that I work with a lot of different dealerships, so I have access to brand new vehicles. So when the brand new vehicles, brand new technologies come out, I dissect the vehicle like you wouldn't believe. And I look at it from a standpoint of what does a technician have to know? Or what should a technician know in a sense of, let's say, replacing this component, programming that component, or if this wire breaks, that wire breaks, how is it going to react? So I kind of reverse engineer so I can then take all this and then teach the next generation or licensed technicians.
That's so cool. I'm gonna ask you a question as you're talking and listening to the skills you're applying, the things you've learned. And I know I was talking to you earlier before we start the podcast, um, the audience itself. I mean, there's a lot of people that go into a path or a career path because it's what they were told to do by maybe their parents or their parents did this job, so I'm going to try that job. So, but with a lot of the listeners, maybe venturing into business and then realizing I don't really like the business atmosphere for this business analyst role or this developer role or whatever it is, I always talk to these young individuals about, have you thought about the trades? Have you thought about it? And I wonder if thinking through that and the audience that's listening to you today, like I'm getting jazzed about the opportunities that you're doing and saying, wow, that's a really cool opportunity. It's a really cool way to learn. But I
Yeah.
feel still like the trades needs to be demystified a bit with some of the audiences that don't necessarily hear about it through high school or even in school. What would you say to that person who's like on that edge of um, maybe business and the working world in the office isn't for me? Like, how do you break out of that or explore some of this? Is there something that you could advise that maybe they could start to look at?
Yeah, so there have been lots of cases where there's lawyers, aerospace engineers, all these that said, you know what, it's not for me to
Yeah.
be behind the desk. The career exploration program of one of the programs that I run for AIA Canada, it takes people from different walks of life. So I'll give you an example. We had a bomb technician for NATO. So he had
Wow.
20 years working for NATO, all over the world, and he said, "I want to be a mechanic." And then we had another one, which is an aerospace engineer, so a rocket scientist, and said, "You know what? I want to learn about cars." And it's never too late. The biggest advice I can give is that even when I opened my own shop, I just took a leap. You gotta take that leap of faith, right? You
Yeah.
have to take a leap. If you don't take that leap, you're going to be forever regretting it. You're gonna say, maybe I could have, but now you're stuck maybe behind a desk because that maybe you didn't take action. So my advice, the real quick advice would be to, you know what? Stop overthinking it and just take that leap. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, any education you take, any education you do will never be a waste. Never. Anything I do, any course I go on, and I probably know the system, it doesn't matter. I still pick up a little bit of something out of it.
Yeah.
So even if then they don't like it, hey, it wasn't a waste of time at all. It was
No.
something. You got something out of it.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And I think this is why I want to have more talks with you down the road because I think more people need to hear about these things earlier in their life to understand it or to maybe get their head around it. That there's other things out there for you if you just open up that explore mindset. But I want to jump to the next question here, which first of all, like huge congratulations on the Provincial Premier's Award in the apprenticeship category. That's so amazing. And I've been following your journey on LinkedIn and some of the posts that have been going on around the award itself. But it's significant. And I wanted to ask you, could you talk a little bit about the award itself and how that came about and the impact you hope it has on the industry?
Yeah, so the award, how it came about was the alumni department once had like about a 3 minute chat with me. And then they just said, you know what, we got to nominate this guy. So we're just talking in the hallway. When I got nominated, I was saying to myself, you know what, I can use this for good. I can use this where I'll have more exposure and I
Yep.
can help others. That was the biggest thing. So that's what I want to come out of it. I want to help others with it because there is this section which is called the Premier Award Bursary Program, and we get to give $5,000 to a student basis. So to help them with their tuition and anything like that. Now, and I think that's the best part of it to use it to help others.
And is this with St. Lawrence College specifically, the
Yeah, this is
recognition?
my
Yeah.
college. Yeah, that I'm with.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Perfect. Wow. No, that's really cool. And then your commitment to education is evident, your teaching roles and involvement in skills competitions. How do you find the time? Like, I know time management is a question I get asked a lot from people. Is like,
yeah.
how do you find the time for it? Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, you got to be organized for sure, right? And at the end of the day, mental health is key. So having two phones is a great idea because you could just completely shut out that one business world. I shouldn't say shut out. What do I tell my students? I tell my students you can never shut off if you own businesses. You can never shut it off. You can only turn down the volume. Because I teach business advice as well. So learn how to turn down that volume. That's the biggest thing. And you will only learn that over time. I can't stand here and tell you how to turn down the volume. That is all a person to person basis, right? So It will take time as you navigate your career, your day-to-day life. But what you need to do is turn down that volume. Don't try to shut it off. If you try to shut it off, that's when damage occurs. So turn down the
Turn down the volume. All right. We've always heard pump up the volume. Now it's turn down the volume with you. All right. Sounds good. I think we need to turn down the volume on a lot of things lately. So electric vehicles, all the rage. Everywhere you see talks about it. People are curious, interested. You came up with a curriculum with this, which is cutting edge endeavor. Um, what challenges do you face in creating these programs? And also, how do you see this influencing the future of automotive education?
The challenges would be when I was making it, manufacturers don't like to share a lot of information. I don't know
Interesting.
if you know about the Right to Repair Act we're working on right now with AIA Canada. There's not a lot of information that's shared, so I had to go out, dismantle vehicles, learn them, talk to engineers, right, and make all of this program. So that was a challenge, not having access to the proper information, and seeking out all the experts, right, the engineers who made the vehicles. What I see that's going to happen in the future is that there's going to be more and more of a demand for EV repair, diagnostics, and maintenance because that is the way everything's going. Is it the final point? Too early to tell. If
Yeah.
it's our final, that's where we're going to land. Is Could it be a stepping stone? For sure. For sure, it could be a stepping stone. We don't know where we're going to land after, but EV right now, that's where we're headed right now. And then after could be something else. So this curriculum would be awesome because what can happen is that as it gets more and more popular, this technology, we will soon, we're hoping that we have these technicians ready to repair these vehicles properly.
And I'm going to ask this question just, and I know it's an opinion question, but do we think we're going to live in a world of hybrid between electrical and gas fueled, or do we think eventually they'll just be electrical? What do you think?
My opinion on electric vehicles right now is that the infrastructure is just not there, and the
Okay.
infrastructure is going to take a long time.
Yeah.
My opinion, if anybody asked, saying should we do EV, is that have a small engine connected to an electric motor. I think that's the most reliable way. So
Yeah.
a hybrid technology, and once the infrastructure is stronger, and EVs are built for Canada, um, then yes, I believe it's going to be the way in the future. But as it sits right now, you're probably not going to like the numbers I'm going to tell you, but I would say to get some sort of reliability, you're looking at about maybe 25 years, 30
Huh.
years.
Wow.
That's yeah,
Yeah, I've been thinking about it because I have an old Land Rover from
yeah.
2001 that I really don't want to convert it to electric. I love it, but it's going through my head, right? I'm thinking, oh, am I going to eventually not going to be able to pull up to a gas station? But I'm
well,
just curious from your world because you live in this world more than I do.
well,
So
another thing that'll give you perspective is that I drive a lifted pickup truck with big, huge wheels and everything. It's not a small engine; it's very big. So that'll probably give you perspective of where I am with, is EV the way right now?
yeah,
So
yeah, there you go. See, it's interesting though. It's a cool like trend and thing to watch, and also a cool space to get your head around and get your hands into if that's what makes you happy. So, your partnership with St. Lawrence College and the Automotive Industries Association of Canada, um, how did that come about? How did you get involved in that partnership?
So what happened was that AIA Canada reached out to St. Lawrence College and said, "Hey, let's get together and reach out to the government, and we can make some sort of program where we can uh, prepare today's technicians for the new technology and kind of get people into the automotive field, some sort of career exploration program." So they reached out to us. Then corporate, which is our section of St. Lawrence College, said, "You know what?" They pointed at me. They said, "This guy is specialized in EV and he owns the shop and all this other stuff. Can you draw us up a budget, a curriculum, all of that?" I said, "Okay." So from scratch, we had nothing. So built it completely from scratch. I said, "Sure." So I had some time, and it was over a summer, and I built a whole curriculum, got it reviewed by lots of different people. I had to actually present it
Yeah,
to a Zoom call with a lot of other experts in the area, and they would give me some feedback. Then we launched it, and our reviews are pretty awesome. People are enjoying it. So our career exploration students are enjoying it. Our licensed technicians are driving over an hour away to come down here. Another program I just added is what's called ADAS. That's from scratch too. Advanced Driver Assistance Systems. So blind spot detection, smart cruise control, lane departure warning, all that stuff. Yeah,
Wow.
so that's how it came about.
That's really cool. Looking back at your experience completing the automotive service technician levels 1 through 3, um, and how did that shape your foundation? And I really want to focus this thinking about it shaped first how it shaped your foundation, but also people that are listening to this are thinking, you know what, maybe I need to get up to St. Lawrence College and think about this, or how do you get going as an automotive technician? What should they do to start their journey today? And I will also say you'll probably get some people reaching out to you directly through this podcast, but hopefully that's okay.
Yeah, not a problem at all. So the apprenticeship program in Ontario, I find that it is outdated right now, but they're working on it. They're doing their best to get it up there, and
Okay.
we've had meetings and things like that. But it's still a good baseline for what you're going to see out there in the shops.
Yeah.
So I would recommend people to do an apprenticeship, get their foot in the door in a shop, finish all 3 levels, get licensed, do all the regular mechanic stuff that I would like to call it. But then after you do about 5 years, then start to specialize because you still need to know all the rest of the stuff in order to jump in and specialize into the field. It's kind of like being a doctor. All right, they got doctors that do regular med school, and then they have to go into specialization because they
Yeah.
still need to know the rest of the body. So yeah, 5 years, and then dive in and do a specialization. So, and then is there actual training programs for specialization? Not really, but you need to jump out and put yourself out there, go to different courses, travel the world to for new technologies, and just be a sponge.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, that's it.
It's great. It's great advice. I'm telling you, I've learned a ton with you today too. Just I never would have thought beyond the initial sort of education and specializations. Of course, it makes sense. And I think about that in my own experience in the world that I primarily lived in business, my whole career, and even recruiting, right? I was in HR, but I specialized in recruitment and talent acquisition because I wasn't a comp guy, for sure. So, but I really am glad you draw that line and that story because I think it's helpful for, again, people thinking about the opportunities and ways that you can actually go where maybe others aren't going,
Yeah,
as you said earlier,
yeah.
you know. What's next for you? Like, what are you thinking? Like, what's down the road? I mean, you're doing so much and impacting so many people, but what's next for you? What's down the line?
Well, what we're doing right now is actually what I want to be next for me. I want to go out and actually talk about my experiences, my challenges, all of that from elementary school all the way to being a licensed tech,
Yeah,
uh, and share my story to
yeah,
different students or even people that are trying to get into careers or having a hard time in one career or having a hard time, graduating and knowing where to go. So some sort of mentorship program. I think that's what's going to be next.
that sounds awesome. Boy, I could see people signing up today for that. Um, I know we've talked about a lot. Like I said, I've learned a ton about the industry through you just speaking today and listening to you. I know our listeners have learned a lot. Is there anything that I didn't cover, or ask you that you wanted to share, that maybe I didn't touch upon?
Basically, that in my religion in Islam, we are taught uh, to help others, right? So I would say that that is the foundation where all of this is coming from. That what I've been taught by my parents too is not only should you think about yourself, but you should put others. You should put others first. That's what
Yeah,
it should be. So once you get to where you are, make sure that others are the ones that you're going to help rise with you.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Um, Honestly, I really enjoyed having you on the podcast. Like I said, this has been really exciting and interesting, and I think this is helping me inspire to do more of these talks outside of the general business and other areas that people might be approaching. And I think the trades and the areas that you're hitting upon specifically are areas of interest for people, but they just don't know enough to know enough. So I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story, for being on this podcast and really helping our listeners to think maybe just a little differently about their career path or what they might want to be doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, for our audience and our listeners, if you liked what you heard today, please share this podcast on Spotify with your friends. Follow Coffee with Convery on Instagram. This has been Coffee with Convery, and until next time, please stay well.